is about 10 minutes to 6, which is when the museum itself closes. So we scamper into the souvenir hut to buy up some little whatnots. I really wanted a map. They do not have it. We found later out on the battlefield itself this great 3D, you know, you cut out the topographical outlines and then pile them all up and make yourself a little 3D map. I would have, that as a pop-out thing, as a thing to kind of do, that would have been awesome. I would have totally enjoyed that. I would have done it. I would have bought it. But all I had was damn t-shirts, ugly posters, and a horde of books. But no good maps. They did, however, have 2,000 years of history on a ruler. So one of the highlights on the ruler is there. The first, I think it was, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was 29. It must have been 29. Maybe 70. It must have been like 70. Now maybe I don't know, we'll just say 70. We'll say 70 AD. And I believe it says Hadrian sports a beard, which is, as we all know, a very monumental turn in men's fashion. The emperor wearing a beard. Weird. Maybe it is Trajan. So after that, beards were cool, and history all went downhill. Roman Empire collapsed. Next thing you know, the Germans are everywhere. So we get there. I don't care about the museum. I mean, I've seen pieces of metal dug out of the ground before. But the nice lady, after giving me a hard time, I'm trying to give her exact change, trying to explain to me, no. But it's not a funny story. So she's like, oh yeah, you're just going in. Because it's just a battlefield. You're just wandering around it anyway. So we wander in and kind of look at the maps. Oh, here's the Rumelweg, the Romans' path. So we go and follow that, which is an interesting. It's all maybe plywood size-ish pieces of sheet metal or of steel plating laid down along the path. And apparently they have some quotes from historians, Tacitus, etc., and about the battle, about the time period, about the Etruscans. So we wandered through the battlefield. There are various little sites and stuff. One of the most incongruous things was the rope course. It was also at the Denkmal. There was a rope course, which, if you're not familiar with it, just ropes, trees, wood, up high, suspended in the air, having a good time. I suppose it's tough to get kids excited about slaughter, so you need to give them something to do. Hey kids, we're going to a battlefield! Hooray! Tarzan time! So Tarzan was closed, unfortunately, so we just wandered around. Now, the center of it, you remember what I've been describing as far as my perception of what the battlefield looked like. You had narrow, confined trees, tight spaces, Romans can't maneuver. But you get there, and obviously it's 2,000 years later, so it's kind of leveled out a bit. And they've kind of cleared the central area where they're doing a lot of their excavations. So it's tough to get a true sense of the space enclosure. And there's the first kind of entrance point where you're kind of walking through kind of this framing of woods where you're like, aha, I can see how this would not be fun. And then around back, kind of between the site and the road, you hear the cars the entire time. It's nice. You can see it's just completely covered in underbrush. You can't even move through it. I mean, there's some paths that people have cut through, but it's just insane. And then on the far side, there is woods again, and you're walking through it, and you're just really struck by sun sets, you get a nice light coming through. Are there sword marks 1,000 feet up? I mean, how long does it take a tree to grow that tall? Is that 2,000 years? Are these the trees from then? What do these trees know? But the other thing that occurred to me besides those deep thoughts was, people want to be very critical of Varus and of the loss. And I frankly want to be very dismissive of the Germans' achievement because, it's all well and good to lead dudes into a dark room and then abandon them and stab them in the back. That's pretty easy. But as I think about it, it seems to me that it's very plausible the Romans were actually pretty comfortable fighting in trees. They've been roaming all over Gaul, Germany for the past, 50 odd years. They've probably gotten comfortable with fighting in trees. Probably form up a little tortoise in a tree, in a forest. Trees in between. Yeah, it's not the... I prefer to be on a field, but hey, sometimes you gotta fight dudes in trees. So, as you start to think about that, then maybe you can start to give some more credit to the Germans, to the feat of arms that is defeating the Romans. Yeah, you set them up, yeah, you abandoned them, but it's still 3 legions. 3 legions, well-trained guys. Yeah, you get the first surprise on them. But even then, I have to kind of go back and see what some of the other historian dudes have said, but it always seems to me that the accounting of it has always been, they get surprised, leaders get killed, troops get, isolated, sections of troops get isolated and then just overwhelmed. Which is, probably relatively accurate. But, and of course the sad thing is you'll never be able to piece together everything because I don't have a time machine. So, it was and then at the end there's the Hall of Questions, which I think says, this is the Hall of Questions. It has no answers. It says something about, we haven't seen the end of war, and then Varus. And behind it takes on this 9 TV display of, the horrors of war, the past, 20 years. Somebody's had a camera. But it is, being there 2,000 years later was very, I suppose you can always, imagine the ghosts moving around any battlefield in Verdun, May. But that superstitious side of you always likes to be more attuned on those anniversaries, which of course we may or may not have missed, calendaring being what it was. So we peeled out of there, blazed back north to Hamburg. Had a vegetarian schnitzel. Moral superiority never tasted so good. That was really something. So, to Varus and Arminus and all their men, hope you're resting well. End note.